Now let's speak about TCP ports. We already discussed TCP is a transport service, connection-oriented. TCP runs a virtual connection between the two end systems. We have discussed how this connection is established. And now we have to see how on the end systems TCP can be used by the applications that want to communicate to each other and how this communication is organized. In order to keep TCP connections running, as well on the sender side, as well as the receiver side, there must be endpoints. Endpoints for the communication, and these endpoints are called sockets. As soon as a TCP connection should be established, such endpoints for the TCP communication need to be established. The assignment of such sockets is restricted to the two communication partners and the duration of the TCP connection. The intermediate systems, there is no TCP. TCP is running only on the both end systems. So the assignment of the sockets is restricted to the communication partners. Each socket needs some space for buffering the data received over the internet and buffer for data that should be sent over the internet. Reason is that the communication task and the processing task are tasked with different speed, and in this way, by means of this storage spaces, of these buffers, these both tasks can be synchronized in the right way. When a TCP connection is established, on both systems, such space, such memory space need to be allocated. And this is what a socket is. Each socket needs to be identified. And for that purpose, each socket has a socket number. And this socket number is made out of the IP address of the computer. This is important for the IP service because at the end the communication of the TCP packages is done as load of an IP package, and a locally assigned 16-bit number that identifies the so-called port. So socket number consists of the IP address of the system and the so-called port number. Port numbers are 16-bit long. The ports are service access points of the transport layer. Now we have different types of ports. We have ports with numbers 0 to 1023. These ports are known as so-called well-known ports. And these well-known ports, they are uniquely reserved for standard services worldwide. For example, the port number 80 is port number for the HTTP service. Or port number 23 is the port number for the telnet service. 53 for the domain name service. Then the next range of ports with the numbers 1024 to 65,535, they can be assigned to any application program. A distinction is made between so-called reserved ports. These are the ports in the range 0 to 255. This is reserved for TCP IP applications. And 256 to 1023, these numbers are reserved for specific unique applications. So the well-known ports, the first portion, the first 256 are reserved for TCP applications, and the other for specific unique applications. In this range, starting with 1024, there we have a region of so-called registered ports. The registered ports are ports in the region with numbers between 1024 to 49,151. And these registered ports are registered by IANA. You remember, IANA was the organization that's responsible for the top-level domains and the addresses. The remaining ports are called private or dynamic ports, and they can be assigned by people that develop applications. So TCP connection runs between the two endpoints, TCP endpoints on the end systems, and these endpoints are the TCP ports. So the TCP port, this is to connect an application, to allow an application to communicate with means of TCP with an application on the other side. So here we have a picture. We have a computer A, computer B, and we have a TCP connection. And here we have different processes running on the different process. For example, an HTTP process that want to exchange data with an HTTP process on the side of the computer B. So what is done? HTTP, there is a port number used. Then a TCP connection is established, and the addressee port is fixed. This is a reserved port for, 80 for HTTP. So if process on computer A wants to send an HTTP message over this TCP communication to the HTTP process on the side of computer B, it has to address this port number 80. SMTP has to address on the receiver side the port number 22, Telnet the port number 23. You see, this TCP connection can be used in same time by different processes, by different application processes. And to identify which message belongs to which communication, the endpoints of the communications are important. So these are the two endpoints of this HTTP communication. These are the two endpoints of the SMTP communication. The choice of the port numbers when the connection is established between two applications goes in the following way. The destination port is the port number of the desired application. This was 80 for HTTP communication. The source port, this is not reserved. Here, any port number can be chosen. So typically, a port number is chosen that's not used already. So the next but one is used. So destination port is fixed and is assigned to the port number of the desired application, and the source port can be used freely. Only need is that this is currently not used by another communication. So in this way, TCP connections can be uniquely identified by the two socket numbers on the sender and on the receiver sides. And you remember the socket number where the tuple consisting of the IP address and the port number. So IP address and port number of the sender system, IP address and port number of the receiver system, and then the communication can exactly go between the two applications they want to use internet for communication. We already mentioned that a socket can simultaneously serve multiple connections. The application program uses the transport service via so-called TCP primitives. So at the end, the applications want to communicate with each other. The applications do not belong to the TCP IP protocol layer. So the application needs to communicate with the communication software. Application needs to hand over data to TCP, and TCP and needs to take out data transported by TCP. And for these purposes, so-called TCP primitives are available. Such primitives are request of a certain data, response, confirm, read, write. So it are simple comments which which supports the interaction between the application and the internet software, in this case the TCP software. And this TCP primitives are provided, are implemented through the sockets.